Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Don Talk Podcast. This is episode 15, and today on the day of 420, we got my main man Ecoop with us today, man. We got Ecoop with us today.
What's going on, bro?
You don't get no explosions? You're not about to blow this shit up.
Listen, they over here. I got them all ready. You gonna hear them in the video.
Bang,
The YouTube
bang.
viewers is gonna hear them. Yeah, I got the claps, the horns, the Don DeMarcos, the bang bang. You know what I mean? They there. Look, hold on. The flex bombs. Hold on. I'm pushing the whole soundboard right now. Hold on. We got this one. We got that one. We got that one.
Bang.
Yeah, all right, we good. All right,
So now that we got all the sound buttons out the way, we just wanted to bring Coop on because, you know what I mean, him being a close friend to the pod and, you know, everything that he's done in his life, we thought it would be, you know, some motivational and some takeaways that, you know, regular people could take from it, and some of these future athletes coming up through football could also take from it as well. So that's why, you know, Ecoop's here today and why we wanted to interview him as well.
Sir.
Phenomenal guy. You got a story to tell, and we, you know, Don Talk Pod, we bring real Dons to the table.
Yeah, that's
Cool. You definitely got a resume, a book, portfolio, maybe a little Netflix movie coming soon. Dude, you really a man of many talents. Many talents. It go past football. My man Coop, he come up with an idea to change his life twice a month. Real rap.
Bi-weekly.
That's called drive. Come on, man.
Definitely a lot of confidence over there in that man. So Coop, not to go past like you real fast, but would you like to give like just a little like sprit of like yourself to people that may not know you or never heard of you before?
Yeah. So like you said, my name's Coop. Everybody calls me that. First name's Ethan Cooper. From Harrisburg. These are two of my close friends I've known a very long time, if not almost my whole life. Everybody knows, especially if you're from the Harrisburg area. Not Harrisburg is a very small city. Not a lot of people really make it out, and when they do, it's a big deal. So it's one of those things where it's like, for me, I always driven myself to be one of those guys that can make it out and give inspiration to the next generation, and that's what I still try to do now with me coaching. So I went to East, also a bigger high school in the area, but not a big high school in general. Made it out, got D2. So everybody's like, oh, D2 dreams. Like, he didn't go D1. So it's one of those things where like people tend to try to push you off and push you to the back because they try to make it seem as D2 is not as important as going D1. If you don't go D1, it's like you didn't go to college almost to some people.
Right.
One of those things where I just, like I said, it's just more fuel to the fire. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to be that guy that doesn't take the traditional path. I'm not the guy that went D1 and then did great there and then went to the professional level and did what they did there. I was like, I'm going to create my own path that's different from everybody else. So I went D2, had great success there. It was All-American 3 years out of my 4 years there. And I just was always driven to be that guy to give other people examples of that. Just because you take the long road somewhere doesn't mean that you're not going to end up at your destination. So it was one of those things where it's like, I didn't graduate yet, but I graduated in December. And I'm actually in the process of going to get my master's as well. So that's even more inspiration for people to also understand, like, just because you're not in sports doesn't mean you don't have more to offer in your life. So I went to IUP, balled out there, actually got invited to the combine, was at All-American games and all that. And then I had gotten blessed with the opportunity to play professional football for 2 years. So it was definitely a great story for me. And like I said, obviously didn't end the way I wanted it to end, but the fact that I even got to experience it myself was just great to me. And it's great inspiration for the next kid behind me.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely very inspirational because like you said, Harrisburg's a small city. So not a lot of people make it out. So for you to, you know what I mean, even be out 2 years or, you know, go to college and then blow up as this person, then get invited to the combine and then get signed to teams, like either way, like it is, even though you didn't get to where you wanted to go, you still did a lot better than a lot of people, you know what I mean, before you, or can even like say anything about you, you know what I mean? So it's a big accomplishment to me, at least. I mean, fuck everybody else shit, you know what I mean?
2016 All-American, 2016 Hanson Football Gazette All-American, okay. 2016 All Super Region 1, 2016 Football Gazette All Super Region 1, All PSAC West 2016.
Okay.
That's all 2016.
Bang.
He was eating in
go
2000.
D1 for
Come
5
on.
years. You go D1
Come
for
on.
5 years, and I can't Google not one thing.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not about where you go, it's what you do with the opportunity. Like you said, there's a lot of guys that go D1 and then you don't hear about them after they leave. So it's one of those things where it's like, I was always, my dad is one of my biggest role models. And he always told me, like, no matter where you're at, if you're doing what you got to do, they'll find you no matter what. So I always had that in the back of my mind as I'm training, as I'm working out, as we're going through practice, and it's those dog days where it's 98 degrees outside. I don't really want to be there. I always had that in the back of my mind, like, they're always going to find me as long as I keep putting the work in. So I was blessed that my dad, one, was right, and two, that I kept staying on top of myself and staying motivated. So that way I afforded myself the opportunity to be presented like that.
I think something that gets lost is like what you said earlier, from a small city. Even in our city, East High gets looked at as a big school, but in the grand scheme of things across the country, it's smaller.
Right.
For people to leave this city and have the mindset like they're from a big city, they're used to big things, is just like, it's like, how does that correlate? Y'all already know where we come from. You already know how it is here. We supposed to make it work with the little things. People want to leave small city Harrisburg and be at Michigan State.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, like you said, it's hard, man. Like, and I always tell people all the time, like, as a coach, as a college coach, they have to look at Harrisburg as a gold mine. Because like you said, it's not a big city, but you just think about all the guys that made it out our city and actually went and had great careers. It's like, for this, like, per capita, the people we got, there's no way we should even get the amount of people out that we got. And the fact that we keep doing it continuously year after year, it just shows the drive of our city. And even like you said, a lot
players,
of people.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go. You got.
I was gonna say, even players like that can get the looks now from the bigger schools and the higher ups is because of players like you. Ethan Cooper went D2 from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, crushed it, won every award every season possible, killed it. Now someone not even that caliber, but they understand where it's from. They understand who's coaching this person, what they're looking at, what the tendencies are, all that. And they're giving these people a lot more credit because players like yourself took that shorter role and made something from it.
Right. Nah, that's always one of my biggest things. Like, I always prided myself on opening up the gates for everybody else. Like, if I got to be that guy that got to sacrifice and do everything so that way the people behind me can benefit from it, then cool, I'll just be that guy. Like, I've always been like that. Like, I've never been the person where I'm always about myself. Like, anybody, y'all know me, and anybody who does know me knows that I'll get the shirt off my back to somebody if they really needed it. So it's one of those things where, like if I got to be the one that kicks the door down so everybody else can run in, then cool, I'm going to be the one to kick the door down.
That's great. This is a real nigga title right there. That's what that shit is. I'm gonna say it. God damn it. But
it's just how it should be.
Yeah, for sure. And not too many people is built like that. You know what I mean? And on the podcast here, we usually talk about that. We usually talk about your mental state, your emotional state, and just overall accepting shit. You know what I mean? Being a real nigga. Obviously, like, not a lot of people's like that in this day and age. So,
and that's the sad thing. And that's where me, like I said, going to coaching now, like, I try to harp on my guys being like that. Like, I always tell people that I'm not in coaching for the accolades as a coach. I'm not in it for the title of being a high school coach. I'm in it to invest in these kids the same way that I want somebody to invest in me. So it's one of those things where it's like, when I'm coaching, like, I'm more focused on investing in the person just as much as the player. Like you said, especially with like the mental state, like, a lot of these kids got a lot going on at home. Like, not a lot of these kids come from different backgrounds and different situations where it's like, you can't treat every kid the same at this level because they're all coming from different stories. So things where, like, I take the time out to become personal with my players so that way I understand their story and what's going on with them. So that way I can try to help motivate them in the right way without it coming off in a certain type of way for them to shut down. You know what I'm saying? So I always try to make sure I'm upbeat. I'm always positive with them. So that way they always know, like, one thing for sure, two things for certain. Coach Coop always got your back no matter what.
Yeah.
So that's how I always want to be. Like I said, not everybody, like, I've had coaches in high school like that, but not everybody has those coaches where I always said, like, as long as I'm on the staff somewhere and I'm coaching, these kids are going to know that I got their back 110%.
And to elaborate off what you just said, since you graduated from East High, now you're on the staff coaching. Are there some give and takes that you brought to your methods from teaching these players that you didn't like or you did like from other coaches that you incorporate now?
Absolutely. Like you said, not every coach is a great coach. Not every coach is a bad coach. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things, like you said, like, as long as you're coaching, you're always learning from somebody else. And that's the thing that people tend to forget. They think you're a coach, so they assume that you already know everything. And coaching is the same way as being a player to me. Like, The same way I was a player and I was listening to my coach as a coach now, I listen to a bunch of other coaches that might have knowledge on something that I don't. Because I don't know everything. I'll be the first one to admit I don't know everything. Even at playing at the highest level of football, there's still stuff I'm learning. So it's one of those things where I'm picking the brain constantly to evolve my game as a coach. So that way I can make sure I'm always giving these kids 110% and I'm giving them the right stuff on top of that. So it's just one of those things where it's like my college coach, my O-line coach in college, he was a big inspiration into me even starting to coach because I was hesitant at first, where it was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to relate. And then as I got out there, I was like, this is a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be relating to these kids and understanding them, especially going to be back in my old high school. So it's like, I'm an East kid and I already know what an East kid is like. So it made my transition a lot smoother because every high school is different. Like if I went to Harrisburg or I went to Susquehanna or I went to CD, I'm not going to be around the same kids. At the end of the day, they're all kids, but we all know that kids are different. Shoot, the three of us are different and we all are close friends. Like we all got different things about us. So it's just taking the time to become personal with your kids and understanding them and what you need to do to motivate them the right way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to go back to when you said, everybody's different and everybody's coach is different. Everybody comes from different forms of life. Now, the coaching staff as a whole is very, very diverse, and that is a very, very talented coaching staff. Like you guys have a lot of names from like just childhood type niggas on the team that is like really, really cold. Like B. Lamel, Jamil, you got Lance on there, and I'm pretty sure there's a couple other people that I'm not naming that I don't know off top that are like really, really special.
We got Eris out there. We got a lot of guys. We got Akey. I'm trying to think Connor, Marcisco. Like we got guys on our staff, and that's the biggest blessing for these kids because it's like not only are you learning from guys that care about you as people, you're learning from guys that have success of doing what they're doing. So they're not going to tell you anything that's going to put you behind. They're always going to be pushing you forward. So like when Lance gave me the opportunity, I was blessed with the opportunity for him to keep me on the staff, and I immediately accepted it because it's like, one, I'm still home, and two, I'm around guys that I know are coaching for the right reasons, and they're all in it for the right reasons.
I don't know how involved the kids were, like knowing your history and B. Lamel and Lance and all and Eric Scott, but it's like to people like me and Perm, that's an all-star team. That's literally big 33. That's a big 33 game right there.
That's the fucking Avengers.
Driving down to see that right there. Right. It's crazy because we talked about it before, but it was more on the basketball aspect, and you're literally on the coaching staff. So I want to know, like, do kids follow the same kind of regimens as they did back when you were younger? Because like there was a stigma, like, oh, you can't be new on this team, and you can't be the first one with number 89. You got to earn that. Or, you know what I mean? You can't have number 5 as a linebacker. You're not all state, little stuff like that.
Right. Yes and no. Okay. Like, there's still, the basis of it is still the same in regards to, like you said, like, you're not going to get a dog number if you're not a dog. Right. Like, that's just rule number 1. That's what any school. But what that is also, we can't try to make the kids fit into our time frame because these kids are totally different than us. So it's one of those things where it's like, we can try to get the game that we have to them in regards to that, but we got to modify it to adjust them. Like I always tell people all the time, like when it comes to coaching, like the biggest issues when it comes with coaches and players is that too many coaches are circle pieces trying to make it fit in a square hole. Like you got to put the circle piece in a circle hole. So if you're trying to do something and your end goal is to do this, you got to adjust sometimes to make sure that it accommodates your players because they're the ones that have to play. So regardless of how good you think your offense or your defense or your special teams is, if you're not adjusting it based off the strength of your players, then really you're just wasting time. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to be strong in your core values, but at the same time, you got to be flexible in how you can do it so that way it fits your kids.
He's over there spitting some real facts. He's in the coach mindset. I'll fuck with it. It's just how it's
like, and that's my thing. Like with me coaching, like I always try to look at it from a player's point of view. Like I'll probably be the textbook definition of a player's coach, where it's like I've been there. Like, I'm doing everything you're doing. I've done a million times. So it's one of those things where like I know you're tired. I know you don't want to do this, but I'm gonna find a way for you to dig mentally into it and keep going, even though you don't want to do it. But at the same time, I'm gonna understand like, all right, if you're dead tired, I know you're dead tired because you're going 110, not because you're trying to be lazy. So sometimes you got to know when to keep pushing, and sometimes you got to know when to pull back at the same time, especially at the high school level. Like college pros is a lot different. It's more of a business thing. But high school, like not every kid on your team wants to play college football. So you got to understand, like I said, it goes back to understanding your kids, where it's like, what is your real goal? Like, is your goal really to play college football, or do you just play football because you enjoy being around your friends? And really, you don't even care if you play college football or not. So it's one of those things where you got to understand each individual kid and take the time out to understand them. So that way, you know exactly how to coach them based on what they want.
This guy's good. He should run for president. He's talking this shit right now. He's talking his talk. Now, I know we talked about it like back in like probably like 2 years ago, and not to put you on the spot right now because we're on the podcast and shit like that. But I remember you saying that you wanted to start like a lineman camp or like some sort of like lineman facility for the linemen to come throughout the area, you know, to be taught, like, you know. Is that still like a idea or a plan for you to do?
It's more than an idea now. Like we already got things in the background going into motion. It's just at this point, just I'm not. My biggest thing is I don't want to rush it. I'm not just trying to put a product out and rush just so it's out there and then I still got cracks in the foundation. I'd rather just take my time, make sure everything is tight, everything's figured out the exact way, so that way when it's time to operate, everything's smooth. So it's one of those things where like, nah, it's definitely more than an idea. Like we're probably gonna be having announcements coming out on it soon, but for the time being, like my biggest thing is I'm not in it to reap monetary value. Like, I'm not in it just to make money off of it. Like if it was up to me, I'd do it for free. It was one of those things where I just want to be able to help the next kid chase the same dream that I had and have a resource to do it that I didn't have. Like when I was in high school, I didn't have an O-line coaching area I could go to train with. So that way I can work on my craft, which honestly, if I did, I'd probably been put in a way better position than I was. But it's one of those things where it's like, I can't cry over spilled milk. There's nothing I can do about it now. Everything still worked out for me, but let me put the next kid ahead so that way they can have a better opportunity than I did.
Exactly.
So that's really my biggest thing. Where it's like, I don't care about the money. I really don't. I could care less if I make any money off of it. As long as I know I'm helping this kid out, where now 10 years from now he's playing pro ball, he knows he could come home and still get working. That's all that really matters to me.
And that goes back to just knocking down them doors so people can have them avenues and them extra outlets. Yeah, exactly. We have more trainers in PA in Harrisburg than we did ever before. However, are they geared toward the individuals? Every trainer geared toward these individual or just the majority of things? And that's just another avenue and just another whole thing you about to set on fire. It's crazy.
Like I said, like all I'm worried about is the kids, bro. That's it. Like that's my biggest thing. Like I want to help kids be in better positions than we were when I was playing. Whereas like I said, I didn't have every resource that all these kids nowadays have. Like shoot, just look at Twitter and Instagram, for instance. Like dudes is getting offers off of Twitter and Instagram left and right now. I'm like, bro, Twitter was just starting when I was in high school. I didn't even have like if you'd have a huddle highlight and they weren't on your huddle, you weren't getting recruited. It was all word of mouth by then. So it was one of those things where like just now having an avenue of social media where it's like, okay, I can help you guys set up to put yourself in the right position on social media. So you're not out there tweeting whatever. So coaches are looking at you some type of way. You're staying professional within your social media accounts, but you're also showing that you're working every day. And that's where it really comes down to, where it's like your work ethic is going to take you wherever you want to go. And I preach that to my guys all the time. Like, all right, you might want to take today off, but understand if you take today off, somebody else is still working, so they're getting a day better. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you got to push yourself every day. And it might not have to be physical. Like one day might just be a recovery day. But on that recovery day, you're also still working, getting your body prepared to go work the next day. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things where I tell them, like, you should be constantly reassuring yourself and working on your craft if this is something that you seriously want to do. Because I know when I was doing it, you can ask Perm. Perm was there. He knows, like, when I was training. I was at it. Like, it was to the point the summer going into my senior year of college. If you weren't at a training session with me or you weren't at my house sleep with me, you wasn't seeing me. It was one of those things where it was like I was constantly around the clock working out, just trying to get to that next level because I already knew my chances were already small to begin with. But even with me being D2, it was even smaller than that. Like the fact that I was able to get invited to the combine, and there's 330 dudes every year that go. I was one of 3 guys from Division II that got invited. I would have never been there if it wasn't for my work ethic.
Say that number again. Not to cut you off. Say that number one more time. One out of what?
It's 330. 1 out of 3 from Division II. Out of 330 guys. So it's one of those things where it's like, you always got to put your best foot forward. I'm big on that. Like I said, whether it's mentally that day where you're on the whiteboard, physically we're on the field, or you're just recovery day, you always got to put your best foot forward with that.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Just like your life after college and experiencing football now as a profession, as a business, and just the in and outs of the market itself.
It was crazy, bro. Like I said, like I went from a small high school, small city to a small college. Now I'm like, all right, I'm playing professional where there's no such thing as small anything.
Right.
So it was one of those things where like it was a transition for me because I'm so used to everything, almost everything being very close knit to where now everything's open, everything's there. But the transition wasn't that bad because a lot of these organizations have great people in them to help that transition as smooth as possible. So, like I said, the biggest transition for me was just my last college game, knowing that, all right, I'm about to have to leave school in 3 weeks because I got to go train for the combine. And then in the snap of a finger, next thing you know, I'm in Florida running 40s every day with dudes that played at Alabama, Clemson, all USC, you name it, they was there. And I'm just like, bro, like, them looking at me like, I don't even know what your school is. And I'm looking at them like, well, I used to watch you every day. So it's one of those things where like just to look at it from the other way, just to look at it from the other way around and then see that one, these dudes are still human. Like everybody puts professional athletes on this pedestal and look at them like they're not supposed to do nothing wrong or not supposed to do anything out of normal. Whereas like these guys are still human the same way we are. They still live their lives every day the same way we live our lives. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where it's like once I was able to see that and I was like, wow, like these dudes are still the same way as I am. That's when it became everything was seamless and everything was like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be here just based off of that. Like, I know this isn't a fluke. I wasn't somebody who just happened to beat the odds. Somehow like, I'm supposed to be here. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. Did anyone try to intimidate you? Like when you got to Indianapolis for your combine workout, was there any, even like maybe it was agents or coaches or scouts, was there just, because you do have that, you're 1 out of 3 for linemen, right. And then you're like, you came from the Division II and you're invited here with everybody else, like people you said you watch every Saturday from Clemson and stuff. Was there any of that? Or was it all love in the area?
I wouldn't. It was definitely a lot more love than anything. Like I got a lot of respect being there. It was one of those things where, like, when dudes found out, like, I was there because I came from a D2 school. They're like, you really must have been like that in order to be here with us. So it was one of those things where I got a lot of love and a lot of respect off of that. But at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily call it intimidation. It was more so like hey, are you sure? Like, you really built for this? Because it's like these guys are. Everybody knows them 5 stars, high school, this, that, and the third. You played D2 ball. Are you sure you can make that transition? But like I said, 10 out of 10 times, I'm always going to bet on myself. So regardless of what they got to say, I'm that's fine and dandy. I don't care what they did, where they were at. At the end of the day, we still got to line up and play. And I'm always going to bet on myself. So I was like, I'm not pressed about that. I'm not worried about that at all.
Word. And not to go off topic a little bit, but the reason why I respect you, and I think a lot of people probably do, is that, like, you know, a lot of these people from here are skilled position players. You know what I mean? They're wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, different things. Often, like, being an offensive lineman and lineman in general is, you know what I mean, it's pretty hard because that position is very plentiful. You know what I mean? You see it in the NFL. People get injured on the line. They get switched out. They get put in. So for you to even make it to the combine, go through D2, go to the NFL, like, that's huge as a lineman. You know what I mean? Especially wearing that as, like, just being a lineman. Like, I'm trying to put emphasis on this shit. Like, it's not being a skilled player. Like, the lineman is pretty huge to make it that far. Like, that shit's crazy to me. And like, now the position is go ahead.
I was going to say for Coop, can you just like add some detail to what a lineman brings? Because like people see it on TV, or it's not a position they really pay attention to when they on Madden and shit. But like the everyday toll that you have to take on your body and like the techniques and reps you have to put in just to be effective for one snap. Like, you elaborate a little bit on that.
That's 100% facts. The biggest thing that people don't understand, and every time I say it, once people hear it, they're like, yo, that's really crazy to think about. You will understand, like, every day I go to practice, and essentially I'm fighting another grown man the same size as me that's trying to feed his family the same way I'm trying to feed mine. So it's one of those things where it's like, bro, this is a gladiator sport for real. Like, they call it the trenches for a reason. We're not down there to be nice and like, oh yeah, like,
not to think about, I'm really out here like yo, not to cut you off, yo. That's why I'm trying to put so much emphasis on this, because people don't, like, logically they don't understand, like, a skill position. Like, when I say that, like, running back, safety, corner, like, all these small dudes, you have to think like Coop has to, like, people like Coop have to block Aaron Donald. They have to block J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, like Khalil Mack, like, these
block a man that trains with. I have to block a man that trains with knives, bro. Aaron Donald trains with knives. How am I supposed to block this man? Like, that's what I'm like. People, like you said, playing receiver in DB, that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, their job is extremely hard. I'm not about to downplay.
It's hard. It's hard for sure.
Football, period, is hard. But to train against a man who trains with knives, like, bro, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, this man is training with circus instruments. Like he's out here, like, it's just crazy because you really got to be thrown off. I tell people all the time, like, in order to play O-line and D-line, you really mentally got to be thrown off. Right. Like, it's like you're physically beating yourself up every day to provide. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's wild, bro.
And I think now more than ever, offensive and defensive linemen are starting to get more credit and recognition than previous before.
Right.
However, it's just like you said, you gotta be thrown off. You're not gonna join the football team and be an O lineman because you want to get girls or you want to wear number 6 or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things you have to do just off the muscle, not because of no recognition, not because of no gear, no politics, how you look lined up in front of the ref or something like that. There's a lot of stuff you just do because it's nitty and gritty and it gets crazy down there.
No, like you said, we get no acknowledgement compared to other positions, but you can't play football without us.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things, like, essential as we are, like you said, we still don't get no love in that regard. But I always looked at it as, I'm not worried about the love for the media. Like, they'll love you one day and then the second you do something, they'll hate you. So it's one of those things, like, I'm not looking for reassurance from them. As long as my teammates know that, all right, when Coop's here, he's 110% here. He's always going to give it that same amount of energy. That's all I'm worried about. Like, as long as my teammates know I got their back and that I know they got mine, I could care less what the media had to say, honestly.
Crazy. That position is very wild. Like, that's just rolling.
Like I said, bro, like, you gotta imagine waking up every day knowing that you gotta go and fight another grown man that's 6'5", 6'6", 330 pounds, runs a 4.8 off the ball, and he's trying to feed his kids, and I'm trying to do the same thing. Whereas, like, bro, it's really wild to think about. Like, I woke up every day to go fight for my life. Literally, I gotta go fight for my life. In order to eat, I gotta fight.
So I always felt like veteran players, like, the more they do something, they find more intricate workouts on how to, like, become more elite at what they do. And like, I can only imagine you're coming from IUP, you know what I mean? You're in the draft, you're on the team now, and you're on the roster against veteran linemen offensively and defensively. These people already have regiments and techniques that they do. Like you said, bull train with knives. There's probably people out there wrestling bears, jumping through pine cones, all kinds of crazy shit, just because they're like, yo, I gotta go back to the trenches start of October. Like, and it's like, you come from pushing sleds, so you only know so much, and you're going against dudes that, like, walk on glass barefoot just to, like, strengthen so they can duck walk. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, like you said, but that's the blessing about having guys like that on your team. And every good team has good vets. Like, that was the first rule I was taught. Like, every good team you see has good vets, and that was facts across the board for every team that I was at. Whereas, like, they'll make sure that they take you under their wing and they show you the right way to go about your business and help you create your routine that works for you. So it's one of those things where it's like, for me, like I said, I didn't have no crazy routine. Like, in college, I listened to the same 3 songs before I went on the field, and I never spat it. I never used nothing. Like, I always, if you see me, I was probably the most default player ever. Like, when it came to swag, like, I didn't do nothing extra, bro.
But it was one of those things where
Hail Mary by Tupac.
Okay.
Many Men by 50 Cent. And then I'm trying to think what the third one was. I know for sure those 2 are the last 2 I listened to before I went on the field.
You was locked.
Like, oh, bro, what? Man, look, like I said, I'm going out there to fight for my life, so I might as well get turned before I go out there. You never know. It might be the last time I hear it. So it's one of those things.
Not even to laugh, but, like, it's just true.
Nah, like, that was like, nah, for real. Like,
the reality
like, it's really, that's how I really looked at it. Like, football is war, bro. Like, and as much as you're not really trying to murder nobody, but that's how some people think. Me, it was literally kill or be killed. When I lined up on Saturdays and I was playing, it was like, you lining up against me pissed me off because it assumed that you were coming out here to kill me. So it's one of those things where I got to kill you before you kill me. So I never gave mercy on the football field. Like, if I'm playing, whether it's the first quarter or it's the last play of the game, you're gonna feel me. Pause. You're gonna understand where I'm coming from in regards to I'm not out here just to be out here. I'm really out here to make you feel like less of a man and to understand that the next time you come out here, you might not want to line up against me.
Hey, that's just real.
Icons that you follow growing up, or even like when you were in college or in the pros?
That's something that's been like that forever. Like, I grew up with 2 older brothers. I'm the baby of 3. So it's one of those things where, like, I used to get beat up every day.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I had to, like I said, I've been fighting for my life since day one. So it's one of those things where it's like, I got to make sure that I'm always on my P's and Q's, but you got to know when and when not to be defensive. It's one of those things where, like, if I'm around kids, I'm not going to be in that same mindset. But when it comes to always making sure that I'm protecting myself and I'm always going 110% for myself to make sure that I'm straight, I'm like that with anything.
That's interesting that you say that, because I remember when you said earlier you had to somewhat adjust yourself from kids that are here because they just want to play football with their friends, you know what I mean, have a good time, be part of the team. But also you got kids on that same team that are taking it seriously, trying to change their lives. So how do you express that kind of intensity to somebody who's like, chill, I just wanted to get the varsity jacket, like, versus the kid next to him who's like, yo, I need this scholarship to get change my life and stuff.
No, and that's where it comes to, like, it goes back to what I said with knowing your kids. Like, if you're a coach and you don't take the time out to know your kids, you'll never know that. So you're attacking one kid that, like you said, he just want a varsity jacket. He just want a jersey on Fridays in school. And you got another kid where he's going home, his mom isn't working, he got 2 little brothers and sisters, and this is his only way he's gonna be able to go to school. If not, then he's stuck. So it's one of those things is where learning your kids, and it's one of those things where you gotta regiment it based on each individual kid, but still get everyone to collectively buy into the same goal. So it's one of those things, like, if you're gonna be here, you're gonna go 110%, whether you want to be for a jersey or you want to be here to change your life. So everybody's always going 110%, but at the same time, there's different ways about going your 110. So this kid could be going about his 110 just because he wants to make sure that he's solidifying his spot on his team so he can get his jersey on Friday. And then you could also talk to the other kid and motivate him to give his 110, because it's like, look, you about to play against another kid this week that's a 4-star prospect, and there's going to be 12 colleges at the game. So if you go out there and ball out, you might be able to get you a scholarship from one of those schools. It's just finding each niche within those kids and what they really want to do, and being able to motivate them to get what they want done, but also still benefit the team.
How many kids do you have currently underneath you? Like, how many do you coach currently? Like, for offensive line?
At East or through? At East, I got about 12 guys right now.
12, okay.
Yep, I got about 12 guys. So, but like I said, I got a lot of older guys that were with me last year. Yeah, I got a lot of older guys that were with me last year, and that was my biggest thing. Like, I instill into my older guys, so that way they set the foundation for the younger guys. So when it comes to freshman and sophomore, I should never have to check them as a coach. As a junior and a senior, you should already know what the foundation is. So the second they get out of line, you should be saying something to them before I even get the chance to. And that's how it should be. So that way, year after year, when those freshmen and sophomores become juniors and seniors, and the next freshmen and sophomores come in, I still shouldn't have to say anything because they already know what it is. And that's just how you keep setting the cycle. And that's all it is. Like, the good programs in a good school go through the same cycle. They don't change anything from year to year. It's just the kids buy in every year that come into the program. That's how it really should be. That's why the teams are successful that are successful.
Is that something you had to establish when you got there, or was it still being followed the same way, sort of, from when you left originally?
It wasn't the same way from when I left, I'll be honest. Like, it wasn't. And when I got there and I seen it, I was super discouraged. But at the same time, I couldn't be discouraged. Me being upset about it isn't going to change the fact that I still need to make sure these kids start understanding. So I seen it, it was like, dang, I thought it would still be the same from when I was here. Then I started understanding these kids aren't the same from when I was here. So how can I expect them to understand it the same way I did at some time difference? So I'm like, all right, let me understand these kids, find out who these kids are, so that way I can put it in perspective to get them to really buy in and set the new foundation for them.
And this is your third or second year, and then this is your first year underneath Lance, correct?
Correct. This is my first year under Lance. This is my second year. I was here last season, and then this year will be my second year.
So is there like a how can I ask this? Is there a different start to, like, the whole, like, weightlifting compared to what it was your first year? Like, is it a different, like, mentality?
It's more of a sense of urgency now. Like, kids are really locked in and bought into it now. Like, I hate to put it this way because I'm not trying to throw no shade to the last regime that was there.
And that's why I was trying to fix my question almost.
No, and I understand. That's why I understood what you was getting at. So I'm gonna say it for you. There's no shade being thrown that way. But sometimes a change of scenery for a kid is what they need. So having new faces, a new sense of urgency, and a new sense of confidence, I would say, a new sense of confidence in the program, and make it go a long way. So they're really bought in, they're really locked in now. Everything's going great. Lance is doing a great job right now. Like, he's doing a great job with the program. And for me to also not only be coaching with him, but that being a friend of mine, I'm truly proud. And like I said, I was blessed enough that he brought me back to be part of this journey with him. so that way I can help in any regard that he needs help with.
And I was gonna say, does that give you the comfortability, like to like, all right, yeah, I could implement these things quicker, and if something's wrong, I feel comfortable that Lance will come to me, because I've watched myself being part of football teams. There's like the defensive coordinator, the defensive coach, you know what I mean, the O-line coach don't get along with the receiving coach, and there's certain things he'll tell. Like it was almost like I played on the football team, but I was on another team on the football team.
Right.
It was like
it almost seemed like you were in a clique compared to
exactly
one big team.
It's like
that happens on a lot of programs, but that was the luxury about the staff that Lance brought in. There's a mutual respect from everybody across the board, because there's not one person that didn't do something that another person did. So it's one of those things where it's like it's a mutual respect when it comes to coaches understanding and respecting what other coaches bring to the table. But I would never go and correct a receiver when I'm like, why would I try to check the receiver when there's two receiver coaches that play D1 over there? Like, I would never step in that lane the same way they would respect me enough to never step in my lane. But it's just when there's respect across the board and everybody's there for the same purpose, it's real easy to coach, because I could come to somebody and be like, yo, I seen this. And they're not thinking I'm trying to attack them and try to demean them as a coach. But really, they're just like, oh, I'm glad you've seen it. Let me correct it. The same way as they see some of my linemen, we're like, yo, I seen he did this. He might be able to do this instead. And I'm like, all right, bet. Like, I appreciate you telling me that. Because like I said, rule number one in coaching is you never know anything, because things change every day. So it's one of those things where it's like, if somebody can give me positive feedback to where it's helping me help my kids, I'm all open. I'm all for Israel.
That's great, man.
Is East still currently 4A, or did they move up?
It's 6A now. It's not. See, when we were in high school, there was only 4 classes. Now there's 6. So now we're 6A. So we're the top one. Yeah, it's crazy now. They trying to turn into Texas out here, but there's 6 qualifications now.
So
does that apply? Because what I'm thinking is, if you moved up to 6A, the surrounding 4A schools moved up to 6A as well.
Yeah, so essentially it's the same people. Everybody's doing the same like classes they were when it was 4A. They can just bring in certain teams that might have been 2A but should have been playing 3A, might have moved up, or a 3A school might have moved up to 4A. But so like your 6A school
playoff look is a little bit different. The teams that you can come against,
a little bit. Like in our area, it's the same. But when you start going into states where you're playing dudes from Philly and dudes from Pittsburgh, it might be a little bit different than past years. But even then, it's still sort of the same. So it might be a team that was 4A, and instead of going to 6, they might have went to 5.
So y'all still see like Wilson and like Pittsburgh Catholic and all them? All right.
Yep, we still play all those guys. All that stays the same. Like the big dogs is gonna stay the big dogs. They ain't gonna stay at 5A. They gonna make sure they play 6A.
So
when does the season start?
You just took the question out of my mouth.
September. Yep, September. So we got 2 days in August. Yeah, we'll have 2 days in August, and then we have a scrimmage, and then our first game, I think, is that first weekend of September, I believe.
Now, here's a question I got. Do they change how you play football? Because I know professional basketball, they wear no mask, but college and lower, you know what I mean, people play with face masks on. Like, is there some alteration?
More practice. You're not in. Like right now, while we don't have pads, like everybody has a mask on at all times. But when we're playing and we're in the game, like you can take your mask off. Nobody's gonna wear a mask under a helmet. Like,
right.
That's just doing too much, honestly. But and I felt like if you really, first things first, and then second off, if it really was that deep, we shouldn't be playing. Simple as that. If you can't play having to have a mask on underneath the helmet, we shouldn't just not be playing.
Because I'm thinking like kids on the sideline, maybe they're not in the game, maybe they play offense, they got their helmet off. Like, do these kids have to be masked up the whole time?
They have to have their mask up when they're on the sideline. So I mean, unless you're like getting something to drink, but I mean, it's not that bad when you're just on the sideline. It's more so when you're playing. Like I wouldn't be able to play with a mask on.
That's what I said about the basketball thing. I would never play a game of basketball with a mask on.
Yeah, I don't know how they
breathe through my mouth when I'm running.
Right. I don't know how they did it. I'm impressed. Like I'm like, y'all conditioning is immaculate. Like there's no way
these kids are elite.
Do that. Yeah, I'm like, y'all are gifted, because I'd have quit before I did that.
Damn.
There's no way I'd have been able to do it.
That's great.
So you guys got 2 days in August, correct? That's what you said?
Yeah, and then we'll have the season the following week. So usually how it happens is your last week of 2 days is when you have your scrimmage, and then that following week after your scrimmage is the first week of the season.
Is
So,
that
like I said,
open to everyone?
I'm not positive. They still haven't made an announcement if they're going to have people at the games or capacity-wise yet. So I would assume with everything starting to get sort of back to normal, we'll be able to have fans at the game.
Schedule posted.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But nah, we should be good this year. Hopefully, we'll see. Especially with the vaccinations and stuff coming out. So hopefully that'll be able to help.
Is Goldthorpe and Dr. Ross still there?
Yeah. Yep. They're still there.
Damn.
Yep, they're still there.
They know their coaching staff is big 33.
Oh yeah, they.
Oh man, I know they going crazy when they see them kids. They're like, you don't even know. Y'all don't even know who y'all got out here coaching y'all. Like,
nah,
if y'all put on some pennies, y'all will win a 7-on-7 against majority of the coaching staff in the state of PA.
Bro, I look at it this way because we got our other O-line coach, Jamie Thomas. He went to McDevitt, went to Maryland. He played for the Colts. I tell the kids all the time, like, name another high school in probably America that got 2 O-line coaches that played in the league.
Come on, man.
I said, so you're not listening when we. I said, so you're not listening when we talk, and you just, I don't know, bro. You just don't want to be here for real. Because it's one of those things. If I had 2 O-line coaches that play in the league, I would be a sponge. I'll be taking everything they say. So, but our kids are really good about it. Like, we got some really good kids. So it's one of those things. They're very attentive. They listen to everything you say. They apply it. We got some really good kids this year.
Word. That's super dope. That's super dope. That's all the questions I really have. Honestly, like, I mean, I might have had 2.
Like I said, I'm just happy.
I think I might have had 2. I know we was bouncing around a lot throughout the whole joint. But who was like the hardest person you lined up against, rather that be college or like being in the NFL?
Chris Jones, Kansas City Chiefs. He tackled from the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the hardest man I ever had to block in my life. I don't even want to call it blocking because he killed me. So it's one of those things where I just had to stand in front of him almost. But he's good, bro. He's very, very good. And between him and probably Cam Hayward, they're probably the 2 hardest people ever. No, I lied. Between them 2 and Snacks Harrison are probably the 3 hardest people I had to block.
And those are some big ass dudes.
He's probably big. Bro, look, like in the city, I'm one of the bigger guys in the city. I go out there, I'm like, bro, I'm nothing compared to these guys. Like, I'm in the huddle and I'm the shortest one in there, and that's including the quarterback. So it's like, yo, I'm like, what's going on? I'm used to walking around being a giant. I'm in here. I got my tackle. He's 6'7". My guards is 6'6", and then I'm in that joint 6'3". Like it's short.
Right.
I'm like, that ain't short. Like 6'3" is tall, but compared to them guys, I was short.
Yeah.
Ain't right.
But it was a great time. Like I said, I'm blessed to have that opportunity. Like I said, now my biggest goal is just to help the next kid chase that same dream. That's it.
Understood.
Rome, did you have any more questions?
You gonna achieve that goal, man? Nah. I'm straight. Coop done laid it all out. You know,
yeah, Coop definitely was out here giving out gems out here to people, man. He's out here throwing them out.
There's a door locked and you can't get in, hit Coop. He gonna bust the door open. He gonna be like, yo, this is what you gotta do to get this door open.
I'm gonna figure it out somehow, some way. We gonna get it done. That's always my thing, bro. It's like if somebody wants it bad enough and I can help, I'm there. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, I feel like if I have all this knowledge and I'm not sharing it, then I'm doing a disjustice to everybody else. Right. I feel like I'm hating it at that point if I don't share this knowledge with somebody. It's like I shouldn't hold all this information to myself, but I should be sharing this with everybody so that way the next person's path is a little easier than mine.
Before you go, top 3 schools right now in the area, in Harrisburg area.
Well, you already know number 1, I'm picking the home team. That's us.
Okay.
I'm never going to not say somebody's better than me. I'm always number 1 regardless of what y'all want to say. Number 2 would probably be Harrisburg.
Okay.
And number 3 go CD.
All right.
You know I'm always rocking with the home team first. It don't matter what nobody say.
Any players that we should be looking out for that's not getting the recognition or love that you think they deserve?
Well, I mean, we got Mekhi Flowers now, so you know he's getting love at all times. And he's really good. He's deserving of everything. He's a great kid. Like, that was my biggest thing I was impressed with. He's a great kid. Tony Powell, our quarterback we got, he's going to be a great one. Yeah. And then we got some linemen too. Like, I got some guys that last year, like, they'll tell you all the time, like they had no idea that they could even play college football. Like they didn't give themselves any hope or chance at all. Now they're all starting to get recruited. Cam Livingston, Andre Howerton, and Isaiah Scott. That's three of my linemen I got this year. So they should be good. Like I said, they're really focused trying to get after it. And just like I said, I'm more worried about the person than the player. Like if I can invest in the person just as much as the player, I know they'll always be a great player.
Right.
So those are definitely probably the 5 guys I can think off the top of my head that are seniors this year that we should be looking out for.
Word.
Appreciate you coming out here, dropping the gems,
Yeah.
spreading love.
Yeah.
Just getting awareness, talking your talk, repping your team, all that.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm always gonna rep the home team no matter what. Like that's all I'm about. Like I'm East Side till I die. So it's one of those things where it's like I'm always gonna be a Panther no matter what.
Respectable as shit. But any you wanna like give them your at name just in case like any future offensive lineman that listens to this, young bull, that they hit you up or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. It's the same name on IG and Twitter. It's at Ecoop59. Like I said, I'm probably one of the few people in the world that got a blue check mark that will respond to you because people sometimes be acting bougie on social media. But if you hit me up, I promise I'll respond. I'm probably one of the more personable people you'll meet. So like I said, anybody with any questions, there's no such thing as a dumb question either. So if you hit me up just asking something that you might think is stupid, somebody else probably already asked it too. So just go ahead, hit me up, ask any questions. I promise you I'm gonna solve.
We'll wrap this opportunity. Didn't nobody when we was growing up ever had somebody on the internet talking about, yo, y'all kids out there in Harrisburg or anywhere need help, DM me. Never heard that in my life.
Right. So like
especially
I said,
somebody with a blue check.
Right. So anybody, like I said, you can ask anybody who's ever hit me up. I promise I'll respond to you. So it's one of those things like just reach out. Any way I can help somebody, I'm always for it.
All right, man. Sounds great. Well, I hope you have a great season. Stay safe
Appreciate
this
it,
year.
fellas. Yep, y'all too. Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me. I really do.
No, it's all love. It's all love, Coop. But you know what I mean?
Always.
You're always welcome to come back. You get you midway through the season, y'all undefeated. Guess what? You can come back on the show and talk your shit even more.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, bro. You can bring them young boys. Let them young boys win the chip. They can come on here and pop off if they want.
Oh yeah, nah. I tell them that they really gonna do that because they like to talk too. So it's one of those things where it's like
real rap. That's the ultimate bragging rights. You can spread this joint across the state.
Nah, real rap. So but like I said, I really do appreciate you guys letting me on here and just saying a few words.
Yeah, bro. Anytime.
Always. All right. So I'm gonna catch up, boys. Y'all be easy.
You too.
All right, bro.
All right, bro.